Thanks for stopping in, everyone. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at the Sunstar, again, second part, right? So in the first part, all right, we kind of went over the Sunstar, even had a little live stream on it, poking at it, pulling the tires off on the live stream. We saw all the play in the front end. And I want to shout out to Zippo for, he sent me some PDFs and stuff, and also gave me some advice, fellas, which I'll probably talk about in a live stream, but some advice on how to fix this Sunstar tractor, because he only has like all of them on the planet. Zippo, can I have some? He's like, yeah, you're going to have to go find them and pay for them. Yeah, and you know what? They're not cheap, but they're not really ridiculously expensive. So we went over a whole bunch of things. I did an oil change. We're dealing with the belt issue. I ordered some belts. I'm waiting for the belts to come in. So even after the second part, right? Setting up the snowblower, getting everything ready, right? And that was the first part. So now we're in the second part, which is putting the snowblower on, right? The snow thrower, and checking that out. So it's pretty cool, right? It's a lot of work. The video is like a little bit longer, right? But I wanted to show you guys everything I basically went through with this. Now, the tractor still needs a lot of work, but there's a lot of work here. And the cool thing is that even though a lot of things aren't right and they're worn, the beauty of this project has been all along is that I've been able to do a few things to it. You know, I replaced the switch, I had a leak, I had wiring issues, I had all these little things, but then I threw it and put it right to work. And then I modified it and I made those forklifts, right? And which has been a godsend. So I'm lifting up, beat tractors that don't move with my bad back, and I'm shoving them in here and I'm dragging around the yard. And then I got the plow working, and I did a little bit more work to the main tractor itself. And then I got the plow work, and I did a little bit of grading in my driveway, and I found out what I needed to plow. We put some chains on. So all of this has been a progression, and the point I'm making is I'll do a little bit, and then I throw it back into the line of fire. So that's what I'm going to do. I don't know if there's any snow in sight, but let's take a look at this video and see how everything came out and see what I did to get the snow thrower, the huge snow thrower implement on the front of this thing. This thing is a badass machine, and it is so cool. And also, shout out to Mikey, right, for helping me out. We did some horse trading, and he's been helping me out a lot, and he helped me out with this tractor, and it's just like a godsend, right? So let's get started. You'll see what I'm doing here in a minute, but I just spotted a hole and I'm just finishing up that tap. So I'm just kind of looking at some of the covers, and I mentioned that I wanted to get this cover on. So I have a broken piece on this side, and I guess it's missing. But yeah, I just spot another hole, put a 1/4 bolt in there, and we're good to go. Okay, so I got these aprons on, broken bolts up there. But I put on what I, could. I'm not going to put the bottom panel on yet. I think it's still in the basement somewhere. This one's on, and a little bit of clear coat. Okay, that helps out a lot. And then I still have the mop bucket with that solution in it, that polymer floor shine. I just put a little across the top. Mostly there's chain wax on this, right, to keep it from rotting. So it got that acid treatment a couple of years ago, and then a little Scotch-Brite, and then the chain wax. But this will help. Battery's been on charge for more than a day, at least 24 hours. So that's good. Just a trickle charger. Same thing over here. We got one broken bolt there. Everything's tidied up. I'm not going to put it on over here. I'm not going to put this cover on over here because we need to get at the electric. So that's cleaned up and drying. Right, because remember I mentioned that the electric, the chute is operated electrically. This is all ready to go. So this is the bar that I made. Right, that's called the lift rod. That's in a different episode. So a little jack and some dollies, and the holes are a little bit weird. There's some burrs and stuff. So next time I take it off, we're going to need to just clean the holes up. down here, I managed to get the pin coming from that way, and I have my little spacer. It's like a spring spacer I made. I couldn't use those extra supports, but we got the pin on that side. You kind of have to like move it around. It's close. And then from this side, I had to put it in that way. So I don't think I want to shorten my pins yet. I got to think about it, because what I do with the pins on the other setup for the plow. I'll never try and put any of this stuff on again with the hood on. It's not worth it. It's so much easier to do it this way. I noticed that this is dirty in here, and my shaft, I'll show you. Let's go over. We got to check on that. When I took the shaft, where is it? Off of this guy. Well, she's kind of buried. I gotta put this up. But when I took the shaft off of that, I gotta put a bag over that or something. It slid on nice. When I first got my hands on it, it was horrible. It wouldn't work. So these are all slip style rings, and they gotta be cleaned and lubricated. Yeah, I took the shaft out over here. So this is next. So we'll put that on, and we'll do the wiring, and we'll go through all of it. It needs to be cleaned up and, you know, polished up and lubed. This is the collar that you gotta pull in.
The next day.
All right, it's the next day. So I painted up nice. I'm going to put grease on this before I install it. But this is all this is all cleaned well, like I showed you yesterday, and then I painted it. And then this morning I put a little bit of oil and then grease, right, in everything. So this way the bearings are lubricated, everything's got, you know, like a sheen, and it'll give it a chance to sort of move around a little bit and knock off any additional, you know, crap that's kind of stuck in there. And then a couple of squirts into the U-joint. So that's all done. Look at how close that belt is riding right on the edge. And I think one of these edges had a burr, right? Remember? So we need to shim this out more. So I got to take these belts off and take this pulley off. And I have room here. Plenty of room there. So I'm going to do that first, put the belts back on, clean this up, and then mount the shaft. This should be clean enough, but I'll hit that with the wire wheel or wire brush while I'm here. This one's too long, okay? So I don't know if this is an extra or whatever, but this is the one I took from the mower deck that I cleaned up last year. So I'm just going to give this another quick cleaning, and I'll lubricate it, and then I'll throw this one on next. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right, I went with a longer 3/8 bolt, washer behind, nice couple of thick washers there. One I think is a machine washer, but one's just a regular one. And now we'll put this on. And yeah, definitely, there I could see that the burr was on that edge. There was a burr there as well, so it was probably eating up that other belt. And then the good washer on the front with the lock washer. Let me put that on now. Put the belts back, and then we'll see. Now, I don't know what this plastic thing is for, but it's in the way. I cannot get to, unless we take this off, I can't get to what it is or how to take it off, or if it twists off, I don't know. But we're going to have to let that go for now, all right? I'll get to that another day. All right, so we got a little bit further. I wound up putting the stock bolt back and that one washer. And I think it's in a better position, but you know, we won't know until we run it. I want to run it, so I'm going to go a little bit at a time. So I have the other bolt, I've got the other washers. I'm going to hold on to them for now. Now this is too long still. I can't get it on all the way, and I'm not going to cut it yet. Right, this is the shorter one, but yeah, you can see because there's plenty of length, but we also need to know it's going to come up about an inch up to about here. We don't want to force it on because then you won't get it off without taking all this off. So I want to take it back off and I want to draw it up and measure it. We have the longer one. This one works on the cutting deck. I think it was actually a little short for the cutting deck, honestly. So we're going to need to go through that. Take it off, measure it, write it down, get all my notes together. That's another thing I got to do tonight. And then if not, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it today. Maybe tomorrow I'll cut it. I got to have to cut it with a chop saw, cut-off saw. And then we'll attach it and then we'll test it. So I got a little further. All right, we're figuring stuff out. All right, we'll give it a quick test. All right, I want to spin it, check everything. It should be enough. There's definitely enough compression room here. It should not bottom out. And I can't get it on. It took about an inch off. I can't get it on if it's up, but you wouldn't put it on if it's up. Just barely doesn't go on. But as we drop it down and it relaxes, we have a good inch or so here. So I know there's still plenty of room left on it. Because as we come up, right, this dimension's going to disappear, right? Because we're losing length. It's shortening up. It doesn't travel very far. All right, let me start it up, and we'll go up and down a bunch of times, and then we'll spin it and see what happens. Get you some of this. You let it air out in here. We're still running too close to the edge, but I'm glad I put that washer in. So I'm going to go back to what I thought would be a good idea, which is that bigger bolt. And so I may have to take this out again, but that's all part of it. We can avoid that for now and go to the rest of this mess and figure out where to mount all of this. Sorry for the light. Yeah, I know that light is in your way. Definitely in those pins, there's a lot of stress on those pins. A little concerned about that. You see here, you know, the pins are a little cocked. You know, they should be okay, but, you know, I don't know if I like that. So we're going to work on the rest of it in a little bit. It's got to be oiled too. I haven't lubricated anything there. So I'm going to drop a little oil down on some stuff too before I go. I got the cable off, right, off of here. And let me show you. It was stuck. It was rusted and jammed. So down here, it was kind of nasty. See, we need to clean that area. But I'm able to get juice down that. So I'm just going to clean the outside. And then this, I've been working on this for a while. This was jammed. So it's a twist lock thing. So no matter where you put it, you can twist it and lock it. So that's what adjusts the chute, the flapper, right, to aim it up or down. I'm going to polish this up with some Scotch-Brite and then put some good chain lube on it to start off with. And clean that end as well. And then we'll put it back. And I got to find a mounting place for this bracket. Now, this bracket gets mounted, and then this bracket pins in. And I'll show you that when we do it. So you kind of, when you go to put it on, this bracket stays on the motor, or no, on the machine somewhere, and then you leave it, and then this bracket here, this whole cable just unpins. That's a nice setup. So I'm just going to do a simple demonstration, right? So a lot of lubrication. I've just been pouring oil and everything over whatever I can get it on to get the mechanisms to work again. I got the motor to work and I got it loosened up. I had to use a pair of pliers to get it to move again, and just everything's oil. We got a little pigtail here. This pigtail kind of came with the tractor and it's been hung up for a while. Goes in here. We'll talk more about that later. So all we need to do is apply 12 volts to that motor from the battery. So I'm just going to show you. I'm going to come over here, and I don't think you're going to be able to see everything that I'm doing in the shot, right? Because there's just no room to put the big cameras and everything in here. So let me kind of show you what's going on, right? So let's see. All right. All right, so in one direction, it's 12 volts, and then we have to reverse the 12 volts. Let's see what it means. Okay? All right, so that's one direction, and then we reverse the leads, and I'll show you more about that in a minute. And then in the other direction, all right, we'll take it the other way. Okay? All right, now let me show you what I'm up to. So with all the lube and oils and everything on that, that's starting to work pretty good. The cable we basically have going, but it's not mounted. So what I want to do is, let me bring you around this way. There's not a lot of light over here. So here's the Ford solenoid that I put in. And we'll get a closer look at that in a minute. You know what? Let me go get the other little light just so I can show you better. So I installed a Ford solenoid. The original solenoid was shot. Put a nice Ford solenoid in here on one end, right? The battery comes over to this solenoid. We have our control and our auxiliary, all right? So one of them is usually accessory and one is the control from the ignition. That's what pulls the solenoid in. And the output side is this. This goes over to the starter motor down here, right? Along over to the pigtail, down over to the starter motor, which is actually on the other side of the engine. And this is power. All right, comes through this nice circuit breaker. I don't know what the current rating on it is, but this is where we get our power to all of our accessories. Right, comes through the battery and then through this nice connector here, this nice circuit breaker. That's what I want to tie into. So we're going to pick up this here, sharing it with this guy. Just need a couple of nuts, which I found. It's like a weird thread too. It's like a 10 something or other. And I'm going to install a switch on the dash panel over here, probably here or here, someplace close. And then that switch is a reversing switch. All right, it's a double pole, double throw with a center off. And it's a momentary. I actually had one. So this is the kind of switch that we want to use. And I'll show you the hookup on this in a little bit. It's a center off, momentary. Okay, and I'll show you how I'm going to wire it. I'm just going to give you guys a tip. So useful tip number 2,365,000.2. These two wires are going to go out to the chute. And so these are the control wires, right, that we're going to meet up with a connector. So I'm going to put a little twist on them. A little tape on the end. And shove it in here. And pull it taut. And then run the drill up. That should do it. All right, now there's a couple of reasons for doing this. One reason is if you put a ground in it, it'll reduce noise. We don't care about that. The other reason is because with a bunch of wires on something, sometimes it's nice just to have them captive, right? It's not going anywhere. I'll leave the tape on the end when I'm ready to terminate it. We can put a little electrical tape over here. So this is actually the output from the switch. And they're going to go on this guy, right? Right, like this. And that's, I cleaned up, by the way, I cleaned up the switch with my little bit of my Aluma Bright, because these contacts have been sitting around. We'll put lubrication in here later. I'll show you that in a close-up. So that's our output. Now we need to hook up our wires, our feeder wires, right? So whatever direction the switch goes in, right, is going to have an output. And the only time it won't have an output is when the switch is off in the center position. Stand by. All right, I got all this wired up. So let me just show you what I did. All right, so first tip is to understand is that whenever you throw a rocker, it goes like this. Okay, so if you throw it in this direction, for example, it's going like that. So this terminal and this terminal is made. The center terminal usually on a switch like this is a double pole, double throw, momentary, all right, center off. So normally you go like this, and normally the input for power would be coming into the center, and you would choose. It would be OR, right? An OR switch. So OR this or that. And you would just simply be controlling, off, being off, controlling a circuit, putting power to here, maybe turning that off, putting power to somewhere else. But we're not doing that in this, right? So let me show you the pigtail. Well, let's check these. Oh, I got to fix that. I mean, some of these crimps, I noticed that these, I got these years ago, and I wasn't really always happy. Hold on, we'll recrimp that. Let's just check them. Yeah, we're okay there. I've seen that before. That has happened to me. Let's fix that first. Tighten that up. We got another one. Check that one. I'm glad they did that. That's okay. So the red and the black are going to be our power circuits. And so I've got a pigtail. That looks pretty obvious, right? Did a nice job. I soldered in here, right? I didn't show it because I screwed up, but it's kind of a cool tool. So what you would do is you would kind of crimp them in here like this. And this would help you to hold, right? So you can solder, butt splice, whatever. And, you know, the usual, get it nice and clean, right? Cut it, you know, a rando length. I didn't twist this one because I don't think we need to. Because they're actually going to go to two different locations. So I'm not sure how. This one's twisted and it's going to wind up with this end on it. So it's only going to one location. And it's going to be nice, kept tight. And I think I even have some of that nice corrugated tubing. I've been collecting it, but I keep forgetting what I did with it. I see some up there. Yeah. I also see another cool connector up there too. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So this is our output. So this is going over to the motor, right? That turns the chute. And it's connected into here, into the center. Now, normally, like I said, you would put power here, and then you would choose this or that, okay? Well, we're still doing an or, center being off, but we're doing it differently. I have to reverse the phase, the polarity of the positive and negative. Now, normally, I'm going to wire one switch normal. Okay. So let's pick one. So let's pick the darker color as being black. All right. And so what we would see normally, and the white color or lighter color as red. All right. As matched to red. Different colors meaning... why you would choose different colors is, for example, we know that this is a power source. And usually when I wire things, I'll keep green as ground. I know it's a path to ground. We're talking 12 volts here, so it's lower voltage. So we have more freedom than 120 or line volt, 120 AC. This is DC. So normally, red, positive, black, to ground or to negative of the battery. And so that's why we keep that color arrangement, and we know what these wires are. And here, this is going to the active device, the device that we want to control. So this is considered to be control wiring coloring, right? So in this setup, right, when we go like this, remember opposite directions, that negative wire, these two would become the same point, and then these two would become at the same potential or point, electrically speaking. So the power would be transferred right from here through the switch into this wire, and that would be positive, and these would be at the negative potential. And so the motor would be getting your normal 12 volts, positive and negative, negative being on the brown, positive being on the white in that scenario. And that would drive the motor. When I do this, right, that's going to drive the motor, remember opposite direction, it will drive the motor clockwise, turning the chute, let's say, to the right. But we got to go the other way. So this motor is a floated grounds. It's a different setup. The negative side of this motor is not ground. It's above ground. It's called floating above ground, right? So it's the case may be grounded and is, but the motor itself is not grounded. 12 volts. So this is standard DC polarity, positive and negative. Now we're going to swap the polarity. So you see over here, we used negative. Over here now on this side of the switch, we're going to go switch to positive. And then same thing on the other side. Here we had positive input. Now we're going to do a negative input. All right, we're going to swap the polarities. So now when I go in this direction, okay, positive is going to go to the negative output. and negative is going to go to the positive, what would have been the positive output here, swapping the polarities. And what that will do is it'll make the motor rotate in the opposite direction, all right, with a simple switch, right? That's all we need to do. Now I need to, fellas, I need to figure out how the wire is going to be routed. I need to figure out where I'm going to put the hole. I need to figure out where the cable is going to go. I need to figure out where that mount is going to go. I got to sit down and fool around for a little bit and make my final commitments as to where I'm going to drill, where I'm going to mount, and then we can determine wire lengths and, you know, tie all this in. We have to terminate everything, finalize the lengths, clean everything up. We'll do a test. I'll see you guys in a bit. Right now that I have an idea of where I want to go, I know how I want to bend it. And so I just put a little piece of shrink tubing there. I don't have to go too far. I'm going to put another piece of shrink tubing here, and then I'm going to bring it back over to the machine. A light twist on the red and black by hand, just to keep them together. Now just keep in mind, there's a lot of mechanisms and stuff up in there. All right, just another quick tip. 6,653,000. So if you want to kind of just eliminate any potential issues, you can stagger the joint, right? When you're talking about power, battery power, a battery, this is a car battery, really. It's just a smaller car battery that you can weld with that. So you don't want something that's gonna, that's why I want to go through the circuit breaker, and hopefully that won't pop. We might have to put a bigger one in. But just to avoid any shorts, and if you stagger the joint, just in case, you know, you never know. It's just another way of going about it. It's also easier when you're wiring. When you go to wire a joint, you do the long leg first, and you get that all nice and tight. And then if you want to make sure, you know, you have your lengths right and you're kind of particular about that, then you do the short leg, because then you have that extra wire and you can you can cut it to where you exactly need it. Let me this is all done. I got one more little piece of heat shrink here, right, just to add a little bit more sanity to the bundle. And let me tighten these up with the heat shrink and go back and we'll install it again. Okay, and there we have it. So now we have the part that we're going to install. This is our harness with our pigtails and everything, and I've located what I've need to locate. We've got the crimp-ons on the end, and if you wanted to, you could put heat shrink over that. I didn't. You don't have to. That's going to be more inside the tractor. So let's go install this, and we'll give it a test. All right, let's take a look at what we got. All right, so I just basically tighten this up over here for now. We still got to get a hat for that, you know, something to... the little hat that goes on there, which I don't know where I put it now. Great. I think I know where it is. Right, it gets kind of like crushed on there. So just kind of tied this up. This is sort of a hanger. We'll walk around on the other side in a minute. So ground wire, just, you know, right over here on the end. Well, we'll call it negative wire. It's not ground. It is at the point of ground, but we're going to call it our negative wire. All right, you can see in from this side, right, there's the switch. It's wired out of the way. It should be out of the way of everything. It kind of tucks back. Right, here it is up here. So right, I'll show you, see? We'll look at that in a minute again. So you push it to the right. Now here we are in here. So it comes back here out of the way, right? This lever's all the way back. This is our drive lever. And it comes up through here and then down. All right, so one kind of splits off over there to the battery. Positive comes down to here. This was the connector that was on over here with this wire. I cut that off because it was loose anyway, so I put nuts. We got our positive wire there, our feed wire on the other end of this. So this is coming essentially from the battery. And so we have our circuit breaker protection. Goes back, you know, up, that goes up to the switch, right? That's our feed. So negative feed, positive feed to the switch. Switch comes back out depending upon which way I switch the polarity. And like this can come down. We're going to leave this a little bit long for now. Up over to the head connector and around through here and back over. So we need to kind of get this stuff out of the way. So I need to put the hood on at some point, but I want to check that pulley arrangement. Now I'll just show you. All right, so if we throw the switch to the right, wait, where is it? It's over here. That's my PTO. Throw the switch over to the right. All right, that's right. Okay, see? All right, that big bright light. See? It comes over the other way. I'm going to the left. All right, and I think it could be. This could be a little bit. We need to tie this off. We want to make sure it stays out of the way. That's what we're going to need to be doing next, right? So I need to figure that out next. That looks good. This seems to be riding perfect. We're going to leave that. Let me go get the hood. So why did I do it like this? Well, let me show you. It keeps the cabling up high. It gives a natural path, so now it's functioning once we kind of tweak it. And the other thing is I can open the hood, okay? Whereas when I tried it in the different directions, I couldn't open the hood. Remember, she's a drinker. So I need to check this oil regularly. In fact, I need to check it again because I overfilled a little bit. I want to see if it's correct now. So she drinks, and, you know, common scenario is the battery will die. It is getting a little older, but a common scenario would be you left it out, it got real cold, it snowed, now you've got that problem, it won't start. I couldn't open this thing, and I had to take the cable off. I would have to take... This is an aftermarket type of an idea. I mean, I know it's, you know, it's a simplicity part, but this is an implement. You're trying to rig it up so that you can use it for its intended purpose. So now I don't have to take anything off. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is open it up. Just unlatch it, or in my case for now, bungee cords until I deal with that. The lower panel and those rubber straps. And then this comes right off after you pin it. So this bracket will just be left on here. It's a little bit in the way, but oh, by the way, you turn to lock it, so whatever your position is what you're looking for. So it actually is coming down a little, and then you push it forward. And she's starting to move better. I put a little more lubricant in it. She gets a little stuck. And that's the problem with these kind of cable-operated things. I think she wants to go. She's just sicky. She's old, right? She hasn't been used. So it's up out of the way. I tried it over on this side, and what wound up happening was this was sticking out here, and then I tried it the other way, and it was sticking over there. This way, it's out of the way. I'm not going to clip it on brush or whatever. It's not. I don't know, what can I say, fellas? It's this. I think this is going to be, once I get everything working good, I can always move it another day. And you might be saying, "Oh, actually, you're drilling holes." Listen, look at this thing. Okay, it's happy. It has me, because it was basically just discarded. Okay, I pushed the grill out a little bit. I know she spashed in there a little. Right, it's a little sad. All right, I'm done for tonight. I want to go clean up, eat something proper, and try and do a live stream. All right, so I went to adjust these up, and I mentioned that we need to take a look at these. I think this was modified, and somebody did a very nice job. And I think what you're seeing here is this is the original variant, and it looks like maybe one wore out, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it really doesn't look like that. Maybe somebody just decided to make one and to see how it worked and then make the other. I think we could reproduce that. All right, I pulled the chain cover off. We're just gonna scoop this out, get out anything that might be, you know, dirty grease, and just give it a quick wipe. And here it is over here. Not in bad shape. I'm just gonna put a little chain wax on. It's got plenty of grease. See, this is an area that got a little wet. We'll put some chain wax on it. I'm just gonna scrape this a little bit too. Give it a blow with the air compressor. Wipe it a little, and then I'll put the chain wax on, and we'll put that cover back on. And then I think maybe we'll take a look inside here. put a little grease in a couple of spots. It'll work its way in. There's this one area here that was a little dry, and there's a bushing here, or bearing. And it wiped out anything that might be a problem. That's clean. Also lubed in there too, and those bushings or standoffs that hold this all in line. This is a flex shaft, and look, there's a grease fitting here. Can't see it, but it's underneath here. I'll grease this. Everything else looks fine. This is like a flex piece here, and also it's something to break. It's like a mylar. Is there a grease fitting here? No, but I bet you there's one in here somewhere, which we can't get to yet. There might be. I would think that there would be somewhere in there. I can't get to that yet. All right, I'm going to use my Smart Saker locking fitting. Probably 2 pumps, more than enough, right? It'll come out in here. Right, that's good. We don't need any more than that. We're missing a bolt here, so I'm going to replace that. Looks like 5/16, and I'll use like a right angle adapter for that. And the same thing over here. Where is it? There it is. It's up there. We'll probably try a right angle. If not, I'll have to rotate this into a position that I can get to it. You know, I had to change it. I had to move this, so I had to use like a standard straight in there. And then I tightened those nuts. They were a little bit loose. I could hear it. It went into the chain cavity, into the chain sprocket area. But I gave it like 4 pumps. The other one, I actually saw it. Also put a little chain lube in there. I actually saw it come out of here, but this one's set up differently. And by adding the 3rd bolt, I actually had to loosen up the other ones because I had to sort of realign this. It had fallen slightly. So we're good there. I'll wipe that off later. You can see I even put a little chain lube on that too. It's weeping a little bit of junk. All right, clean this up a little bit so she's able to flop now, right? And I got the one nylon washer on one end, and I found another sort of plastic washer and then a wide washer. Cleaned it up a little bit. I kind of painted it, and I made it, you know, I'm not trying to get the whole thing nice. I just want to make sure that everything here. Now this I'm going to leave loose because I noticed it was catching water. So we want to make sure that water comes out of it. That's all lubricated, and I adjusted it. I got that little retainer cap on, and then I moved this because it was hitting the steering wheel. So when it comes out all the way and you lock it, it would come out. And the reason why I'm concerned, now watch, if we pull it, right, pull it all the way in, see how it returns? Now, if we pull it out all the way, just give it a lock. There's room here now for my glove, there's room here, and I've been actuating it, and it works good. Now, I want it down all the way because as far as I can, in fact, I might even want to try to pull it down a little bit more. So I'm going to look at that. The reason for that is there's areas on my property that's real tight, especially to my neighbor who has freaked out because I've gotten some snow on his head. I need tight, certain areas where I need it tight. And the tighter I can get it, the better I can get it. Now, does this need to go any more? I don't think it's going to matter, but I think it's enough for today. I got a bungee on it. So an extra hole. I think that's about the best place I can do it, fellas. Let's see. Watch it over there. All right, we're going to loosen it up. I think you can see it. I know there's a lot of light here. And it goes. Let's give it a pull. Give it a twist. It actually just came out on its own. So I think we're good here. The only thing I would do is maybe pull it, you know, adjust it a little bit more. So maybe it'll come down a little bit more. Because we're close to the end, but I don't think it's going to matter. All right, I think we're done for now. I'm tired.
All right, fellas. Get you some of this.
check these babies out. Okay.
Come on, you bastards. Let the snow begin. Yeah, I'm ready. We just gotta put gas in this one. E26. All right, bring it.
Liz and I came up with an acronym, right? SNAVs or SAVs. SAV. Snow Assault Vehicles. Let it snow, you bastards! All right, because we're like in the middle of January now, and all we had was this. Isn't that sad? All right, it's good. It's good. It's good. I'm happy, right? Because I haven't had to deal with snow and haven't really. Well, I've been ready with the 826, but I'm pretty happy so far. Thing came out really good. There's still a lot more to do. What can I say? Right? You can't make everything perfect, fellas, and hopefully this inspires you to go out there and get you some of this. Oh, telephone! Is that money calling? All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.